Once I knock out Mike Perry, Conor McGregor, let's run it. But you won't do it because you know what's going to happen. You saw what I did to Nate Diaz, who you went toe-to-toe with. So Conor McGregor, lay off the cocaine, get in the gym, and start winning fights, and then maybe we could have a conversation.
Jake Paul is at it again, pulling another stunt to stay in the spotlight. This time, he's challenging Conor McGregor to a fight, with plans for it to take place next May.
Jake Paul made the call-out video. He disrespected Conor McGregor.
Let's be honest, Jake's strategy is as clear as day. He's targeting aging legends to boost his so-called legacy. After pulling Mike Tyson into the ring, a man old enough to be his father, Jake now wants to face McGregor, who hasn't won in a while.
Jake Paul training with professional boxers, essentially being a professional boxer, but getting in the ring with non-boxers or geriatric dudes. He's not doing.
Obviously, Jake isn't going to fight someone in their prime. Why risk losing to a real challenge when you can choose opponents who are past their prime? It's pitiful, really. If Jake is so keen to prove himself, why not fight someone his own age who is as strong as him? But no, that wouldn't fit his story. On this day, Jake wants to fight Conor McGregor, the internet's least favorite boxer. Yes, there is Conor McGregor, who hasn't prevailed in a bout since 2021. His legacy is currently as stable as his left leg after the Poria, but Jake, with his boundless wisdom and unparalleled humility, delivered this news with irony as if he were eradicating world hunger. The battle is reportedly scheduled for India in 2025 because, why not add an exotic setting to make this circus even more ridiculous? The man's audacity in acting as though he is gracing McGregor with his presence is mind-blowing. Like his job, Jake's ego lives on spectacle, and it seems that this is how he keeps making headlines while we.
Why doesn't he just get in the ring with you?
He's on Twitter, he's on his yacht, he's on cocaine, but he's not in the ring with me.
Then there's ESPN's Sal Vender, the journalist who decided to stir things up with a tweet that sent social media into a frenzy. He claimed that Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor could happen in July, August, or September of 2025, and in India. Because why not at an exotic location to make this even more absurd? Apparently, the only thing better than a ridiculous fight is one set in an over-the-top backdrop with a date far enough away for everyone to forget how pointless it really is. Sal's tweet blew up on Twitter, with fans, critics, and trolls diving into the chaos, likes, retweets, memes, you name it. The internet delivered. What makes Sal's tweet so brilliantly maddening is that it didn't confirm anything, but it kept the conversation going. Whether he's an agent of chaos or a master manipulator is up for debate, but one thing's clear, he's helping keep Jake Paul in the headlines, which, let's be honest, is Jake's real goal. This isn't about boxing, it's about attention, and Jake knows exactly how to grab it, but let's hit pause for a moment. Jake's been on a roll lately. Remember his so-called victory over Mike Tyson? Yep, Jake stepped into the ring with a 58-year-old man and celebrated like he just won the heavyweight championship. The fight was scored unanimously in Jake's favor, a result about as surprising as the sun rising each day, given Tyson's age. But did that stop Jake from acting like he's the second coming of Sugar Ray Leonard? Absolutely not. The guy thrives on delusion. Jake's strategy in the Tyson fight was simple: don't get knocked out by a man who's old enough to collect a pension, then flex for the cameras. And of course, he made sure the world saw every second of his grueling preparation. Because Jake Paul without a training montage is like a YouTuber without clickbait, it just doesn't work. Push-ups, sparring, selfies, you name it, Jake's team documented it. The result? A performance so mediocre that even Tyson's geriatric punches couldn't make it interesting. Critics weren't just unimpressed, they were appalled. If there's one thing Jake Paul excels at, it's making mediocrity look like an Olympic sport. Now, back to this McGregor nonsense. Jake's pitch for this fight screams desperation. He knows McGregor isn't in his prime anymore, but that's Jake's specialty, picking opponents who won't completely destroy him. For McGregor, this fight is about cashing in, because honestly, what else does he have going on? His whiskey empire? His stale trash talk? Meanwhile, Jake sees this as just another chance to feed his insatiable need for attention.
Stop taking Trenbolone and start taking fights. You're more actively cheating on your wife than you are in the octagon. Your priorities are mixed up. Put down the bottle and get back to fighting. You haven't won a fight in 5 fucking years, and the last time you did was against Cowboy Cerrone, who hasn't won a fight against anyone since fighting you. I'm a nobody, you say in this tweet. Well, yeah, you're right. I'm just a fucking kid from Ohio. I really am a nobody, but this is where you fought your 6th fight.
There's literally 2 people in the crowd.
And this is where I'm going to be fighting my 6th fight. Madison Square Garden, the mecca of boxing. August 6th. I know you'll be watching, kiddo.
Financially, the fight makes sense, which is probably the only reason it's even being considered. Jake's entire career is based on turning controversy into cash. The bigger the name, the louder the buzz, and Jake knows exactly how to play that game. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking this is about advancing his boxing career. Jake Paul's version of boxing involves dodging real competition and picking fights with aging legend Conor McGregor, once the untouchable king of the UFC, is now hanging on by a thread, desperately trying to hold onto the remnants of his former glory. This was the guy who used to intimidate opponents with his fists and win millions of fans with his Irish swagger. Now, he's more likely to be spotted selling whiskey or posting cringe-worthy rants on Twitter than stepping into a fight that actually matters. Let's not forget his last big moment in the octagon, snapping his leg against Dustin Poirier in 2021. That loss was so devastating, not even his legendary trash talk could fix it. Since then, he's been mostly on the sideline.
Look, Conor is not what he once was. And so even beating him, it still looks good on somebody's resume.
Fast forward to now, and McGregor's grand comeback isn't happening in the UFC, it's in the form of exhibition matches. Let me break that down for you. He's looking for low-risk, high-payday fights that won't tarnish what's left of his reputation. It's like he's playing dodgeball with his legacy, avoiding any real competition while cashing in. Enter Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned boxer, who somehow makes McGregor look classy by comparison. Jake, being the relentless clout chaser that he is, has challenged McGregor, and what does McGregor do? Radio silence. Not a tweet, not a snarky Instagram post, nothing. It's almost like he knows how ridiculous this fight would be, or maybe, just maybe, he's too busy planning his next whiskey ad. If McGregor accepts the fight, it's a double-edged sword. Sure, it's an easy paycheck, but at what cost? A loss to Jake Paul would be the final blow to his fighting legacy. Let's be real, his reputation is already hanging by a thread. If he rejects the fight, he might dodge the circus, but he also loses a shot at staying relevant and cashing in on one of his few remaining opportunities. Either way, the notorious McGregor is becoming more famous for his courtroom appearances and reality show antics than for his once feared left hook.
Make no mistake, it will be a trilogy fight down the line. It won't be straight away, but we will do it 3 times, 100%.
Now, let's talk about what this fight would actually mean for combat sports. Spoiler, not much. It's all about spectacle over skill, drama over discipline. Boxing purists will cringe, MMA fans will groan, and casual viewers will tune in for the memes, not the moves. Jake Paul doesn't care about legitimacy, he cares about cash. For McGregor, it's just another chance to avoid the octagon while collecting a fat paycheck. The fight itself? A glorified sparring match dressed up as a once-in-a-lifetime event. Jake's career, if you can even call it that, thrives on these gimmicks. He recently announced his retirement from influencer boxing, whatever that means, and says he's focusing on professional bouts. But let's be honest, Jake Paul is as professional a boxer as I am an astronaut. His whole act is built on chaos, controversy, and carefully crafted clownery. A fight with McGregor isn't about proving himself in the ring, it's about boosting his brand and his bank account. Win or lose, Jake will spin the story to make himself look like a genius, because that's what he does best.
Conor McGregor calls out Jake Paul for the next boxing fight. Here it is.
Make a new name for yourself. Look at what has happened to Michael Perry. You know, one of our big stars here, the king of violence, he titles himself. And, you know, he's had such a rise in the sport. Now he's up against, a little dweeb of a thing in a fight this weekend that we're all rooting for him.
And here we are, watching this circus unfold in slow motion. McGregor, once a fierce warrior, now a shadow of his former self. Jake Paul, a walking meme factory, thriving on the chaos he stirs up. And Sal Vender? He's just stirring the pot enough to keep this madness alive. Whether the fight happens or not, the damage is done. Boxing, MMA, and anyone who cares about true sportsmanship are the real losers, while Jake Paul laughs all the way to the bank. Because for him, it's never been about the fight, it's always been about the attention. And boy, does he know how to grab it, yet here we are, watching this car crash in slow motion. Jake Paul, a guy who's mastered the art of being insufferable, is trying to sell us on a fight no one asked for but will probably watch out of sheer morbid curiosity. Whether it happens or not, one thing's for sure, Jake will milk this for every last drop of attention. Because for him, it's not about the sport, it's about staying relevant in a world that's growing more and more tired of his antics.